On August 1st, 1992, I walked through locked doors, metal detectors, and down a long, barren hallway in the Juvenile Detention Center. There, I sang and played guitar for detained teenagers. I ended up doing this for 16 years, every week. During the week, I would go on to the housing units, where about a couple of dozen young people were there, and I would be present to them. I would listen to them and stand in solidarity with them. I prayed with them. I laughed and cried with them. And I wanted them to know that they were loved. Until about 10 years before I walked into that detention center, I thought I was free. But I have been realizing ever since that as long as others are not free, as long as people are oppressed or diminished, I cannot be free. I was unconscious that my white skin granted me power and privilege and opened, rather than locked, doors and windows to me and people who look like me. But I am not free. In the words of Maya Angelou, poet and visionary, the truth is, none of us can be free until everybody is free. I am responsible and to bear witness to the injustices I see around me and constantly learn more about them. I have seen the injustices in the prison system, and in the spirit of bearing witness, I believe the system, such as it is, should be abolished. I have been coming to this conviction over 30 years of accompanying young people. I have, since going into that detention center, also gone into various divisions of the Cook County Adult Jail, the largest single-site jail in the nation. And I have visited many people who I consider brothers inside maximum and medium security facilities in the state of Illinois. Brick walls, thick locked doors, and razor wire separate people inside from the rest of the human community, ensuring that most people never see anyone who is serving time. In fact, the average citizen tends to forget that they're even there. Those who are serving time are human beings. And human beings are designed to be free. Free from hunger, toxic water, and abuse. Free from addictions and torture. Free to give and receive love, to find healing, to be included. 2+ million men and women are incarcerated in our nation, the most imprisoned nation in the world. We have to come to see those people as human beings as well. We need to recognize that they are trapped in a system that does not see them as human. I have spent a lot of time coming to understand these injustices. For the first 20 years of my life, I really didn't hold many political convictions or have an understanding of injustice. When I was growing up, my mom and dad held opposing political affiliations. And they had agreed early on not to discuss their political views in front of their children to avoid exposing us to arguments of this nature. Though my mom did not contradict him, this agreement did not keep my dad from sharing his absolutely correct views from time to time. In fact, for his 90th birthday, a friend of mine bought him a t-shirt that said, "Of course I'm right, I'm Bob." As a kid, I just accepted this. But as a senior in undergrad at St. Michael's College in Vermont, I had a campus minister named Diane who chose to accompany me to my awakening. She invited me to see people who were hurting and systems that were unjust. She slowly and gently put one article after another in front of me and invited me to open my eyes, my heart, and my mind. She turned the light on for me, and once I could see, there was no way for me not to see anymore. I knew once I saw and started to understand that I would be compelled to bear witness for the rest of my life. Bearing witness is risky. It can cost someone their job. It can separate people from one another due to starkly different views, convictions, and values. Once I had my awakening, my dad and I had a pretty tumultuous relationship from then on. I no longer thought he was right about a lot of things, and he didn't like that very much. There are other people in my life with whom I see things differently as well, and so having civil conversations can be a little bit challenging. In fact, we usually end up avoiding contentious topics altogether. We all know stories of people who have risked far more than I have. Those who have stood up for racial justice, for instance, have paid with their lives, some of them. They knew the potential risk, but they chose to speak and act anyway. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Heather Heyer, Medgar Evers, Sister Dorothy Stang, and many more were killed for bearing witness to injustice. 10 years before my walk through that detention center and through the relationships I have had inside, I have slowly moved my understanding from the written word to the lived realities of incarcerated people. I sat with young people as they missed their families and wondered if anyone cared about them. I listened to people as they shared their fears, regret and remorse, grief, gaping wounds from abuse, and the universally human hope that we can all do better and be better. I have had the privilege of putting faces and names to incarcerated people, their loved ones, their families, and the victims and communities that have been harmed. They matter to me. And I don't believe for a minute that prison is helping them or the communities from which they come. There are 3 factors then that compel people to bear witness. Everyone in this room could speak to the incredible power of relationships in our lives. I've already shared a few examples of my own. We come into relationship by listening to people, by caring about what they're going through. Their burdens and their journey become intertwined with our own. Through relationships, I have come to believe that no one should be reduced to the worst thing that they've ever done, nor is anyone so irretrievably broken that they belong behind bars. The second way of becoming compelled to bear witness is experience. Through my experiences, through all of our experiences, we open our minds and our hearts and our eyes. I said yes when my friend Paul asked if I would like to volunteer in the detention center. I knew that it was where I was supposed to be. That yes and the experiences that followed have irreversibly changed my life. The third factor in coming to bear witness is learning. Continually choosing to educate ourselves about the convictions we have come to hold. Once I cared about people inside, I had to learn exponentially more about the prison system, mass incarceration, and the racist narratives that have created and perpetuate it. We have to inquire, not only from the mind, but from the heart, and steep ourselves in the value and dignity of every human person, no matter what they may or may not have done. I have learned that mass incarceration is the current iteration of slavery in our country. As Brian Stevenson, attorney, activist, and author of Just Mercy, frequently says, slavery didn't end. It simply evolved. Through Jim Crow laws, lynchings, and mass incarceration that has led to the demonization and hyper-incarceration of people of color. 1 in 3 black men and 1 in 18 black women will be imprisoned at some point in their lives, far more than any other racial group. Again, they are not statistics to me, though. They matter. We need to feel moved when we are being called to bear witness, moved in our souls that something must be done about this injustice. I went into the juvenile detention center and sang, and I'm going to tell you that I was frequently moved by that experience. I'm not going to lie. It was not easy to get young people, teenage gang members, to sing with me. So they frequently requested 2 songs. Lean on Me, and for the liturgists in the room, I know not a very liturgical song, but it's a good one. And an African-American spiritual composed around the time of the Emancipation Proclamation entitled, "Oh Freedom." I would like to share it with you, and if anyone in the room would like to join me, that would be wonderful. Oh, freedom. Oh, oh, freedom. Oh, oh, freedom over me, over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free, and be free. Thanks for the claps. When we start to see injustices in the community, in systems, in the greater world, it can be very overwhelming. How can we make any difference at all? Well, in prayerful words composed in honor of Archbishop Oscar Romero, we cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it very well. Each of us will find our something in our own time. I'm sure many of you already have. One of my somethings is prison abolition. I believe the prison system is too messed up and frankly just too evil to be reformed. Therefore, let me share just a few more examples of why I think that the prison system, such as it is, should be abolished. 1, communities are not safer. Families are broken apart. Neighborhoods are under-resourced and underemployed. And communities of color are intentionally targeted by surveillance and violence. 2, people inside prisons do not rehabilitate or heal them. Anyone who enters a prison with addiction or other physical, psychological, or social ills usually ends up leaving the prison with the same challenges. And 3rd, a disturbing proportion of those who are incarcerated suffer from trauma and various mental illnesses. Over the past 50 years, our prison system has become the largest single provider of very poor mental health care. I could go on. There are many other reasons. Thankfully, I get to share a lot more about this with my students in the course I teach each semester called Practicing Faithful Justice, also known as Faith Behind Bars. I am so grateful for the opportunity to bear witness in this way. To the extent that I am free, I am responsible to use my voice to bear witness to the injustices I have come to see and understand. I am compelled by my faith, by my experiences, by people I have come to love, to bear witness. And so I ask you, who has taught you to see or inspired you to act? What experiences have you had that have opened your heart and mind? What do you need to learn more about to feel like you can give a worthy witness to the injustices you've seen? Silence is not an option as long as injustice exists and people are being harmed. I, with others standing together in solidarity, am compelled to bear witness. I hope you will join me.